There's something special about failure. Every time I see it now, I welcome it. Good morning. Beautiful day out, isn't it? Everyone always talks about how bad failure is and how much we should avoid it. They pretend as if it's the worst thing in the world. But it wasn't until my freshman year of college that I actually met failure face to face. And I gotta tell you, I'm genuinely impressed. I'd give it a recommendation. Let me tell you what happened. It was my freshman year. I was caught up doing all the things that freshmen find themselves doing, gradually gaining my freshman 15 pounds, consistently working on my talents in the arts of cramming and procrastination. I was occasionally oversleeping through morning Spanish class. I was an aggressive napper freshman year, and I was always trying to get a head start on the weekend, but a late start on homework. You see, freshman year I signed up for a bunch of classes and participated in a lot of extracurricular activities, and generally I was very interested in the social scene. Even on occasions I would try and party like a rock star, because YOLO. You only live once, right? The truth of the matter was, I didn't take school seriously enough for someone who had the dream of being a big lawyer. I mean, right before school started that summer, I did my research, and I found out that to get into my dream law school, I needed a 3.8 GPA and a 170 on the LSAT, amongst other things, of course. I needed a 3.8 GPA, and I told myself I was going to get it. Yet here I was, months later, busying myself and getting distracted by things that distracted me from that goal. Not that being extracurricularly and socially active is wrong per se, but my problem was that I was passive towards my academic experience. I wasn't actively working towards my goals, nor was I conscious of the process. Needless to say, the fall semester ended and I was nowhere near my goal. Jam plan came, and I took jazz improvisation. That was fun. And then the spring semester began, and I had a slight awareness of the fact that I needed to do better and I needed to work a little harder. I still lacked the daily sense of urgency necessary, though, to be successful. And before I knew it, time flew by, and it was crunch time. And I needed a strong performance to finish off the year strong. So like many of my peers, I put on my gladiator helmet, and I prepared myself to work hard through the nights. Highly caffeinated, of course. But on that Wednesday morning, during the last week of school, I was awakened to the voice of my mother on the phone, telling me my grandmother just passed away. This, of course, was very saddening news, and it was hard for me to wrap my head around. Grandma Anna's gone. I spent the rest of the day trying to let my professors know that I needed to get home. And when I finally had a chance to sit out in front of Miller Library on the bench, I began to break down. I began to feel depressed. It began to sink in. My grandmother's gone. I remember someone walked by and said, "Good morning. Beautiful day, isn't it?" The unexpected passing of my grandmother later served as a revelation on how short and fragile life truly is. That I must actively live life to the fullest, doing the meaningful things that I love with the people who I love, because you only live once, right? About a month later, I ran into the infamous failure. Failure's arrival was marked by a letter that read, "Dear Shaquan Huntt, you are being reviewed by the Committee on Academic Standing." Me? The letter informed me that I must plead my case and explain the poor performance for that last school semester, and that I might be sent home. No, I couldn't be sent home. Not me. I mean, my mother worked too hard and sacrificed too much for me and my siblings for me to be sent home. I mean, I was the role model for the 5 coming up behind me. Me, I was that kid that everyone back at home said that they were so proud of. Me, I might be sent home. It was hard for me to wrap my head around, but what about my dreams, my goals? I wrote my plea to the Committee on Academic Standing, and they, fortunate for me, they let me return that fall. And I imagine that the reason that they let me return might have had something to do with my unawareness of the resources available to me during the passing of my grandmother, during the hardest and arguably the most important 2 weeks of the semester. But what is of critical importance to this talk is not the conditions leading me to failure, but my response to failing. Here I was, feeling defeated by failure, feeling hopeless. What was I going to do now? How was I going to deal with such a setback? How was I going to succeed? I didn't mention before that after I received my letter from the Committee on Academic Standing, I had to go check my GPA. And when I went to go check my GPA, I started to feel nervous and frightened, like being called over to view the body of a loved one, to check it, even though you already know she's gone, to say goodbye. I checked them, even though I already know they were gone. I checked my GPA to look my dead dreams in the face. And I stared down at a 1.5 for that spring semester. So here I was. What was I going to do with such a setback? How was I going to succeed? Must I really say goodbye to my dreams? I later realized that dreams can only die if you stop dreaming. Because I am here, I can choose. I can decide to still dream. And I wasn't ready to give up on mine. So I decided to treat my setback as a setup for a comeback. I decided to refocus and reorient myself towards my goals. I became determined to succeed. And with this determination, I started to reevaluate all my habits. I began to understand that everything that I was doing had an effect on who I was becoming. That my choices and my behavior reflected who I was. This revelation had an effect on every aspect of my life, even beyond academics. Failure served as an existential wake-up call that gradually awakened me to an insatiable hunger to be my absolute best me, the best Shaquan that I can be. And that's what I'm here to tell you. That though I'm still on this journey, still growing, still changing, still challenged, still driven, that my dreams are now bigger than ever before. That I'm hungrier than I've ever been before. I'm here to tell you that failure might be the truest igniter for our greatness. And though I can't predict the future, I can't help but think that something great is on the horizon. So whenever I see failure now, I don't run from it. I don't hide from it. I don't wallow in it or submit to it. I don't talk bad about failure anymore. I welcome it. I appreciate it. But most importantly, I work through it because I know that it can enable me to get to know myself better as it challenges me to bring forth my absolute best. The motivational speaker Les Brown has a quote where he says, "When life knocks you down, try and lie on your back Because if you can look up, you can get up. Yes, I think failing is just like falling. So the next time failure knocks you down, lie back and look up, because you'll have a better view of the sky. I recommend mastering failure because it might inspire you, as it did me, to develop your wings and to fly. Thank you.